Hello, this is your final module, Module 10. I thought I'd go ahead and explain it while I'm here getting work done today, so that those of you that are working ahead will see this description of Module 10, so you know what to do. So anyways, same outfit. Same day for me, but different day for you, I'm sure, or maybe not. So Module 10 is our very last module. It is a 2-week module because the assignment is anticipated to take you a little bit longer to complete. You will be doing a lesson plan using the Universal Design for Learning. It's important to me that you are taking your time on this lesson plan. Some of you tend to turn things in at the last minute, which is totally fine. You get that in on time. But this lesson plan should be something that you sort of write out and then take a couple of days to think about and maybe go back and add some extensions to it. The first time you write it will be great, but I'm sure that there will be other things that pop into mind as you go along. So I'd like for you to try to start writing it sooner than later, and then you can go and add to it and extend on it as you go. So what you're going to do is obviously do your guided notes as always, but the big part of this last module is really practicing your lesson plan writing. So you're going to use a KTIP template. Now, KTIP template has been changed so many times, it's hard to keep up with. So this is one that we're more or less using for our class, so it might be a little bit different than some of the other ones you've done, but that's totally okay. And then what has been written in red are just some things to help you think about how to make this an appropriate lesson for our class. So those are just tips in there, and you can delete them if you want, or you can leave them there. It doesn't matter either way. You only need to write one learning target. You can write two if you want, but you definitely just need one, and then think about how you're going to assess that learning target. So just like we practiced in Module 9, and how are you going to assess it? Are you going to use behavior checklist? Are you going to use teacher observation data, things like that? This is already done for you, so this sort of goes over your classroom makeup. There are 25 total students in the class, one who's gifted and talented, one who is bilingual, one who has a learning disability in writing and in math, one who is in the process of RTI and evaluation. They think they might have a learning disability in listening and reading, as well as ADHD. There's a student that has high functioning autism, so he does well academically and with structures and routines, but he struggles with group work and he has poor social interaction skills. So if you've got something going on where students will be working together, that's somebody that you might have to make some modifications for. 9 of your students are above average, 5 are average, and 5 are typically low average. So something to think about. What type of formative assessment are you going to do to measure your overall learning target? What kind of resources and materials do you need? And it asks you to put the URL if you're using a source from the internet. So on the module, there are some examples here of some lesson planning websites. If you are just sort of stuck and can't think of a lesson, that is totally fine. You can go online and get some ideas. All teachers will learn from one another, and I sort of am about like, why reinvent the wheel if it's already created for you? Just adapt it for your needs. And so if there's a lesson out there that you think is a good lesson, then you can go ahead and use that lesson and then just adapt it for what you need here. Just give credit where credit's due. So type in that URL there. Also list other resources or materials you might need. A huge thing right now in KTIP is how are you going to, or in education altogether, is how are you going to integrate technology? So if there's an opportunity to integrate technology into your lesson and have students engage with technology, you want to make sure that you include that there. And then here's sort of the meat of this assignment. So what are your lesson procedures? So you're going to go through, similar like you did in Module 9, your interest, catch, do, nominate, listen, guided practice, and independent practice. But really what you need to think about, and every professor, every class has different expectations for the lesson procedures. For this class in particular, I want your lesson procedures to be detailed enough to where I could pick up this lesson and do it myself. So I need you to be very specific about what some of these routines or procedures are going to look like for your class. I also want you to look at it from a universal design for learning landscape. So what places throughout your lesson are going to have aspects of UDL? And when you have that aspect, I want you to highlight it or bold it so that I can see that you've really included those strategies that you've learned through this course. And then also think about different ways that you're representing the material, you're keeping the students engaged, and different ways you're allowing them to express their understanding. So if they are having a group discussion and they are writing a reflection or doing an exit slip, those are two different ways that they're expressing their understanding. So just make sure that you are highlighting some of those different aspects that you're including throughout your lesson. So these can be your headers, and then you can, whoops, daisy, you like that word? It's great, great stuff. You can just type, well, I would probably unbold it. Type right here what you are going to say. And so you can do that for each one. You can just type right under it. But just make sure that you describe enough to where I understand what your lesson is doing and looking like, and I can understand your conceptualization of universal design for learning. Down here is where you're going to talk about your modifications or extensions. So because of some of these students that we described up here, you might have to modify your lesson a little bit or extend. So for a student who is gifted, if they are seem to be doing things rather quickly, is there an extension that you might give that student to help them stay engaged throughout the lesson? And then why would that extension work or make sense for that student? So why did you provide that modification or extension? Now, some of you will have a beautiful lesson using Universal Design for Learning, and so a lot of those modifications and extensions might be included already up here, so you don't have to re-explain it down here. Just give a quick justification on up there under the interest catch. I made sure to include 3 different choices for the way that they can engage with the material representation. I provided an online YouTube video to watch, I provided a news article that they could read, or they could come back to my table and I could have explained it to them. So that was 3 different ways that they could have gotten the information, and so I thought that that modification would be good for those who are higher and lower by adapting the readability or the accessibility of that information. So whatever it might be, just make sure that I can see your understanding of UDL throughout your lesson plan writing, and that's what this is all about. The other assumption for this class is that it's a co-taught class. So you can either play the role of gen ed teacher who's collaborating with a special educator, you can play the role of a special educator who's collaborating in a gen ed classroom, whichever one you want to do. But I want you to pick one co-teaching approach that you would like to use. So this is something you might want to think about, once again, before you write the lesson plan. So you know how I said you're going to go back a couple of times and probably add, because you'll think of things like, oh, that would be a good idea for that, and go in and add it. So, you know, think about it. Do you want to do station teaching? That might be a great way to set up your lesson. But if you're going to do station teaching, you want to keep that in mind as you type your lesson out. You don't want to get to the end and be like, oh yeah, I think I'll do station teaching for that, because then this lesson might not be set up very well for station teaching. So think about what co-teaching approach you would want to use for your lesson, and then explain why it's the best choice for that class. And really, that's about it. If you want to do this with a partner, if any of you guys know each other in this online class, you're welcome to do this together. Just make sure that you include both of your names up there. Make sure that you also look at how this will be scored. So look through each of these, and if you don't understand any, let me know, but I think that they should be pretty self-explanatory, so I don't feel the need to explain them all. The other things about Module 10, there is a discussion board, so make sure that you reflect on the discussion board. So basically what you're doing is, after you write your lesson plan, you're going to just answer 2 questions. What was the most difficult part of designing the lesson, and then what did you learn from the project? And I want you to respond and engage with your peers as we've done throughout the whole class. And really that's it. Here's just a video to us say, yay, you're so close to being done. And it's just applauding you. Little quick pat on the back because you've made it really far in this course. It has been a lot of work and you guys have done fantastic. So be proud of the work that you've done. At the end of Module 10, the only thing left is just a final synthesis paper, and that information can be found under Project and Paper section. So, and that's due during finals week. So May 2nd, finals week. Oh, that's wrong. It's not due May 2nd. I need to fix that. It will be due, well, I will adjust that and fix that because I feel like finals week is the week before. But anyways, I will make sure that I update that either way, and I'll put it in bold so that you know that I've updated it, because clearly right here there are two separate days. So when I update it, I'll put it in bold. Maybe I'll even change the color so you'll know. But there will be a final synthesis paper due as well. If you want to do the course evaluation, feel free to do that. It helps us design the course better in the future. And other than that, keep me posted if you have any questions or concerns now or in the future. I wish you guys the best of luck. You've done a fantastic job. Teaching students with exceptionalities is my heart. I think that all students should be included to some degree in the gen ed classroom. And I know some of you will be teaching very difficult content where having students with exceptionalities is going to provide a little bit of a challenge for you, but just remember that it benefits both the gen ed students and the special ed students to be included together. So be creative, push yourself, and know that what you're doing is really what's best for the students. Good luck in finishing this last module, and thank you so much for all of your hard work this semester.